Hi guys, it's me Pritham. Welcome back to my channel. Now, if you've been following any of my social media, you'll probably be aware that I spent the last 6 weeks traveling, backpacking, going all around the beautiful, badass and fantastic country of Costa Rica. Now, I wasn't really planning on going to Costa Rica in the first place, but kind of life circumstances had me going there and I was blown away. I was blown away by the amount of nature, the diversity, the amount of animals, the rainforest, the national parks that you get in this part of the world, but also how many beautiful beaches that there are. It really is countless. Add on top of that, amazing Latin American people, great culture, and also a really good bit of food and great hospitality and accommodation options nowadays. And you're set for the kind of holiday that will cater for anyone, whether you're in for a relaxing bit of me time or whether you want your nature fix or simply just to disconnect and relax. You're going to find something that really floats your boat in Costa Rica. Now, I just thought I'd put together a video for you guys about some hints, some tips, some tricks, and some cheat codes for making your holiday and your vacation or your backpacking trip to Costa Rica as pucker as it can get. So I hope you guys join me in giving you a rundown of the best ways that I think you can travel Costa Rica. Okay, so you're looking at a map of Costa Rica and you think, oh, it's quite a small country and I've got 2 weeks, so I'm just gonna go to loads of different places. That's a great idea, but in practice, go slow. Not only is there this pura vida philosophy in the country, which means that people are taking it slower, people are kind of enjoying it, being in the moment, but also even though Costa Rica has got a reputation for being better than other Central American countries, transportation is still really slow, guys. It's still common to get buses or coaches that are 1, maybe 2 hours behind schedule. So you want to add a little bit more time on either side of your journey, even during your journey, just to make sure that you've got enough space to see the things that you want to see and that you're not constantly rushing or late for things. And the other thing as well is, even if you are driving, and a lot of people do drive in Costa Rica, sometimes the roads aren't fantastic and some of the traffic, particularly near any of the big cities, can be an absolute nightmare. That leads me on to my next point. Don't let the traffic put you off. It is simple, it is pretty easy getting around, especially as a solo traveler, so you are going to be okay. But something that I did not realize in this country is that hiring a car is ridiculously expensive. Now, I mean, compared to Western European prices, like renting a car in Italy, Germany or Spain, it's not crazy expensive, but it's still expensive for a budget backpacker or adventure traveler. You're looking at an average of around $80 per day for a decent car, probably even a 4x4. And to be completely honest, if you're gonna go from coast to mountain or even just looking at exploring around different beaches, you're probably going to need a 4x4. The roads aren't great, there's loads of potholes, there's little unleveling of the roads as well. That's something that I wasn't really expecting in Costa Rica, but a lot of people drive 4x4s, you'll need one. So you're looking at around spending or budgeting at least $80 a day. That's including your insurance, which I definitely recommend you take out, because I met a few tourists and travelers who also had accidents. Which leads me on to the next budget saving tip, which is that this is a country which I wasn't very much expecting or used to, where hitchhiking is very much in the culture. Now, as I said before, the coaches and buses can be a bit unreliable in terms of timings and no one really seems to know when they're coming. You might get 3 different answers, but hitchhiking is very common and very safe here. Again, I don't want to over egg it or put words in anyone else's mouth. I mean, I'm a male, I'm a man traveling solo, so perhaps it is safer for me, but there was a lot of solo women hitchhiking. But use your intuition, use your gut, use your common sense. Always always try and suss out whether you feel safe in a situation. Don't be scared to leave or ask to be dropped off if you're not comfortable in the car. But a lot of families, a lot of groups, a lot of couples will pick up somebody and drop them to their destination, and some of them are very, very sweet. They'll go out of their way to drop you directly to where you need to go, though that's not always the case. But for me, for someone who isn't a huge hitchhiker and was slightly scared of the world in that way, I found it really lovely when I was literally just on the side of the road and people just sometimes just stopped and asked me if I needed a lift, and they seemed genuinely friendly and wanting to help. Hey, if that's pura vida, I'm all in. Okay, let's talk about San Jose. San Jose is the hub of Costa Rica, and you will most definitely end up, if you're not, flying directly there, using it as a hub, traveling through it. Let's talk about getting to the airport. Now, people at the airport will tell you that you have to take one of the official taxis. And the airport for San Jose is actually in Alajuela, which is about a 40-minute drive with traffic away from the center of San Jose, where most of the attractions and most of the hostels are. The taxis, the hail down street taxis that the guards and people at the airport will tell you that is the only option that you need to take, will cost around $35, and that is a rip-off. I really recommend you either use the internet at the airport to hire an Uber, which works and everyone uses in Costa Rica, and a Uber from the airport to San Jose won't cost you more than around $10-11 with traffic. So that's like a third of the price and you're already saving it. If you don't have access to the internet or you don't have a SIM card, and there's not a lot of SIM card providers around the airport, I really recommend you download something that I discovered on my last trip, which is an eSIM. You can just download it in advance and kind of top it up, and it gives you data as you go along. I used AIRALO. They are a specialist in Central America, really decent rates. It worked out to me to around $7 or $8 for a few gigabytes of data, and when I needed it, as and when, it was really helpful, and it helped me stay connected and was really reliable. So this isn't sponsored, it's just something that I discovered. I was a bit skeptical about eSIMs because they're fairly new technology, but for me, especially with my iPhone, you'll have to check your own recommendations. They worked really well and were a really good way of staying connected when I wasn't near the internet, and allowed me to actually save money by using things like Ubers, so it kind of paid for itself back. Let's continue talking about San Jose. Now, it is full of traffic, and some people do like it, and they said it was really, cultural. There's loads of nightlife, there's loads of good food. I just found it, to be honest, a bit of a headache. It was a classic kind of Central American big city, not kind of colonial or pretty, more industrial, kind of like Guatemala City in Guatemala, where it was just a lot of big businesses, loud cars, honking, traffic, and also some slightly salubrious neighborhoods. Now, I'm somebody who's pretty brave, and I'll go out and I can look after myself, but I was told several times by hostel owners and hotel owners, avoid these types of neighborhoods, or don't walk through these kind of places in the city at night. It's slightly unsafe, and you don't want to put yourself in the lane or the risk of danger when there's no need to be. So I would say, if you want to look at a specific museum, the Colombian Jade Museum is meant to be amazing, the Gold Museum is meant to be amazing, their National Theatre is very pretty, then go with a specific idea in mind of what you want to go see in San Jose. But to be really honest, without trying to offend anybody, I would just get the heck out of there as soon as possible, because there's so much more to the country than San Jose, and so many more beautiful places that when you start traveling, you'll be kicking yourself and being like, damn, I should have actually gone there. Okay, here's another health-related tip. So before I left for Costa Rica, I was told that you didn't have to take malaria tablets because there was a lower incidence of malaria than other countries in Central and South America, and also that you didn't have to really worry about things like dengue because there's a very low incidence of those as well. Lo and behold, not to scare anybody, but I went from December to January, which is a transition period between the wet and the dry seasons, and there seemed to be a lot of mosquitoes out, and I was bitten relentlessly, even though I covered myself in DEET and mosquito repellent. And I met people that did get malaria. Luckily, I didn't. It is rare, but it does happen, especially if you're going to more of the remote places in the country, further down south, like Corcovado, or the Caribbean side, where there's more mosquitoes and dengue and malaria in general. But also, I did catch a small bout of dengue, which really sucks. Trust me, you don't want it. It's not going to kill you, but it puts a dampener on your travels. You feel like your bones are hurting, you can't get out of bed, you're sweating constantly, you have fever and nausea, and it's not the pure Uvita vibe. So take a really strong DEET and extra mosquito repellent from your country with you. It is available over there, but it obviously is slightly pricier. You also might not get the strength you might do back in your home country. Also, you want to really ideally, especially in the early mornings, dawn, or at night after sunset, that's when the mozzies come out, try and wear as many long sleeve things as possible and cover up your legs to your ankles. Okay, so in my opinion, there are roughly about 5 general geographic areas of Costa Rica that you'll want to check out. So do a little bit of research before you go, but the magic spot is having a few ideas in mind, but having a flexible schedule when you go, so you can let the magic of travel happen. That's the way that I like to travel. I have my first 2 nights maybe booked, and then I will go with the flow, maybe meet people or kind of make things up. But having an idea of the country, how it works and what you want to see is always a nice idea before you go. So roughly, here are the rough things and the rough kind of places that people want to go to in Costa Rica. Down south, you've got the stunning Osa Peninsula. The 2 peninsulas, the Osa and the Coya Peninsula, are some of the last areas in Costa Rica left where you will get deserted beaches, stunning wildlife, unfiltered, untampered horizons for sunsets and sunrises, local small towns, and a sense of adventure. The Osa Peninsula down south has places like Drake Bay and Corcovado. Drake Bay is obviously one of the places that National Geographic said was one of the most insanely biodiverse rainforests left on Earth, and you can see so many animals there. I definitely recommend checking that out. Up north, you've got the Nicoya Peninsula, which is equally as stunning but a very different vibe. Here, it's all about the beaches, stunning, beautiful beaches. You've got spots like Nicoya, obviously, Nasara, Samara, Santa Teresa, as well as loads of other beaches up there like Tamarindo and Jaco. Next, on the east side, you've got the Caribbean coast, and I definitely recommend checking that out because it is a completely different vibe from the rest of the country. Here, you've got places like Puerto Viejo, which is just like constantly party, and there's loads of amazing kind of parts of the Caribbean culture influenced in it. Lots of rum, cigars, pineapples, a different taste of the food. They use more coconut. So it's definitely worth checking those other places out on the Caribbean coast as well. In the middle, you've got the biggest mountain in Costa Rica, which is Mount Chiripo, which a lot of people travel there just to climb. It's like a 2-day trek, and there's hostels and lodges all around. There's also really beautiful mountain towns and kind of communities around Mount Chiripo, often where there's a lot of wellness and kind of yoga, meditation communities, but also like local farmers markets and that type of thing. And that's a really beautiful place to check out, which is a completely different temperature and climate to the rest of the country as well. A lot more greenery, a lot of amazing walks, and a lot of stunning national parks. And then you've also got the cloud forests area, which is the main attraction for a lot of people to Costa Rica. It's a specific type of forest, canopies and with animals, but here you can also do activities like jungle trekking and zip lining, which people love to do, as well as more adventure-based stuff. There's 2 main areas here that people like to gravitate towards, Monte Verde and La Fortuna. Have a little look and see what kind of floats your boat, but if you're an adventurous type, if you're a geography enthusiast, those are the places what I would definitely recommend. Now, I just wanted to kind of give my opinion of some of the places that I went to and maybe what I would potentially swap them with or give you alternatives, just because it's always helpful from someone who's been with experience to then actually give you the advice and just kind of say, hey, this is what I found, it maybe this will resonate with you. A lot of people, a lot of tourists especially, go to Manuel Antonio. It's essentially a kind of very pretty beach resort in on the coast of Costa Rica, where there's a very famous national park where you can see sloths and monkeys, but it's also quite an interesting town. It's meant to be the kind of unofficial LGBTQ plus hub for the country, which is great if you want to find a couple of unofficial gay bars or where gay locals and gay tourists kind of hang out. But I found it slightly kind of dated, just in terms of like it didn't really feel like much, but very buzzing there anymore. Also, it's very, very Americanized. It's very touristy. There are some great places to stay, but they're quite expensive, and they're very American chain hotels. And there's also some great restaurants, but they are also on the pricier side and catered to American tourists. And also, the national park, while nice, isn't an essential in my opinion. There's a very pretty beach, but you have to pay for access to it, and it's through the national park, so it's a bit of a mission. The public beach is also nice, but not, I think, as nice as some of the other beaches, particularly in the Nicoya Peninsula, places like Samara. So instead of going to somewhere like Manuel Antonio, I'd recommend maybe you take a 1.5 hours coach further south to a beautiful place that I found called Uvita. Uvita has this amazing land formation called a whale tail, and it is one of the most unique beaches I've ever found. The sunsets are absolutely spectacular. The town is really small but has kind of everything you need. There's a lot of local culture there, but it also feels very kind of authentic and local. It's a lot cheaper. There's more interesting places to stay. It's also one of the only places I've been in Costa Rica where you regularly are almost guaranteed to see every day either whales or dolphins. So that really made my trip. I've never seen dolphins before, and we just went out on a boat and we saw so many, and it just kind of stole my heart. So if you want an alternative to that, that's kind of where I would go. Okay, now the other place that's really overhyped, in my opinion, in Costa Rica is Santa Teresa. Santa Teresa is on the famous Nicoya Peninsula, and Condé Nast Traveler, I think in 2018, 19, said it was the most beautiful beach in the world. Now, what happened? Loads of bloggers, influencers, and YouTubers went to go to Santa Teresa and almost like ran it over. It is a pretty place and there's loads of pretty people. That's been the kind of review constantly. But the thing that I found was that there was such a huge influx of tourism that it kind of eroded a lot of the local culture, and they haven't really been able to keep up with the need and the kind of demand for infrastructure. So unfortunately, when I went, I saw sewage runoff going into the water, which wasn't great for making me want to go swim in it, and it was also really overly expensive. It was kind of like London prices for basic hostels, and restaurants were really a lot more expensive in other places in the country. Perhaps slightly not worth it really, in my opinion, as well as being quite hard to get to. The main road going there was really not very good, and if you're coming from other kind of places that aren't kind of main cities in Costa Rica, transport there isn't actually that frequent. Now, an alternative that I would say is same on the Nicoya Peninsula. I kind of don't want to give this away because I had such an amazing time here, and that's not being psychophantic. I kind of stumbled across it because people on the road told me to check it out, and it is the tiny town of Samara. Now, Samara is nestled on the Nicoya coast in between two beaches either side of it, Playa Carrillo and Playa Buena Vista, and it is just one of my favourite beaches, hands down, I've seen ever in the world. And we're talking about miles of like pure white sand, bath warm water, and just the most amazing views of sunset. And Samara as a town was, I think, my favourite spot to stay just because of the vibe it had there. There's everything you need within a 10-minute walk. It feels big enough that you don't get bored, even like 3 or 4 nights out on a road, but you never feel overwhelmed or lost or like it's kind of too big for its own good. The most amazing thing about Samara is that, thank God, touch wood, no major chain hotels have touched it yet. And apparently it's been like that for the last 10-11 years. I don't necessarily know why, if there's a restriction or there's not any land available, but it is just the perfect spot right now to go and check out and visit. And also it has a very good balance. Like, like. There's like one kind of bar which turns into a nightclub, which you can get your fix of dancing if you want to. There's a couple of really good, you know, local restaurants. There's a couple of really good Western style restaurants. There's like one kind of wellness center. There's a health food like plaza with like local people selling healthy food. There's a really cute market, but just the surfing and the beaches really sold it for me. And my last kind of tip for you guys is going to be about the Caribbean coast. I spent a lot of time in Puerto Viejo because it's lots of backpackers there. It's very fun, it's very party, there's lots going on, you'll meet loads of people. But just an hour away from Puerto Viejo is an incredible town, incredible beach called Punta Uva. Now, I really recommend it because also nearby there's a local animal sanctuary which you can go visit. It's also kind of near Cahuita, which is a really interesting national park. But Punta Uva itself is a lot more secluded. It has a lot more quieter beach where you can really find places to yourself. But also the community there is a lot more grassroots, options for like vegan food and you know, yoga and wellness. But you've also got just a lot more local artisans and cacao and like interesting people selling shells and art, and I really enjoyed Punta Uva. You can obviously do both. I just wish I spent a little bit more time in Punta Uva because it really was that escapism that I was looking for. But you really should check out the Caribbean coast just for a different slice of culture from the rest of Costa Rica. So guys, there we go. That's some of my tips, tricks, hints for backpacking or adventuring through Costa Rica. I hope in any way that this has helped. If you want any more information, please email me. I'll leave that in the description, or you know, leave me a comment and I'll endeavor to get back to you. As I said before, I really enjoy making these videos. This is something I'm trying to do more of, I'm really passionate about, and if you had any feedback, please go and share that with me. Every person on YouTube says this, but I'm trying to make this a business and to keep making videos, and honestly, every like, subscribe or alert or follow or share of the link really helps me in my journey and goes such a long way. You don't even imagine how much I appreciate it. So have a great day, guys. Happy adventuring. Let me know where you end up and if this video has helped you, and stay tuned until next time.